Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Find light in the beautiful sea. I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw the life inside. So shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I too, so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Palms rise to the universe as we moonshine and Mali. Feel the warmth, we'll never die. We're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw the life inside you. Shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I too, so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond.
Hey everyone, how are you? It's JDTemple here from the Light of the Darkness. And I first off just want to thank you for checking out this video. This is going to be a lengthy series that will go into depth of what it's like to work with the infernal divine, why we do this, the differences between religion and practical spirituality. And I first off want to thank Lilith for this. Very much thank you. And I also want to thank R. Wayne Steiger. Please go to YouTube and subscribe to the R. Wayne Steiger channel. This guy is amazing. I have been following him for about 4 or 5 years. And so honored to be able to be privileged enough to be a part of his program. It's great. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. I love you, brother. Hell yeah. I also want to thank Nina the Mystic. I love you too, sister. Please check out her channel on YouTube, Nina the Mystic, and make sure you subscribe. She has an amazing message for you every single Wednesday. It will really help you to get through your week and to know what's going on in your reality. So check her out. She is amazing. And also, my dear brother Ruric Douglas over at Lawless Metaphysics. Check out his website. Check out their YouTube channel. He and J.S. Garrett have an amazing thing going on there. Check him out, and thank you for being a part of this too, brother. It's amazing. And my sweetheart, Mothra the Mystic, Sarah Sawyer, thank you so much for being a part of this series too, my darling. And you can check her out here on this channel, From the Light of the Darkness, here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to that as well. She'll have her own channel coming out soon. But without further ado, thank you all so much. Love you all, soul family. Yes, you know it.
Well, hello everybody. How are you doing? Let me hit that button there and let me go over to this button and We're all good. So welcome everybody. It is Hump Day. That's a promotion to my beautiful guest, Nina, and her show. But welcome everyone. Speaking favor over us all. This is our little chat session on a very interesting but yet controversial subject, demonology. We are hoping that JD and Ruric will be here as well. We're waiting for him. But in the interim, Nina and I can talk and converse amongst ourselves. So Nina, welcome, my dear. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Like I said last week, I was chainsawing limbs, but it's much more docile here. By the way, that is the word for the day, everyone. Everyone in the chat room, welcome. Big crowd falling into here right now. Thank you, moderators, and all the rest. Make sure you hit the like button. And by all means, make sure you support and go and subscribe to each one of our guests. You know who the other two are, and you certainly know Miss Nina. That goes without saying. So favor be to us all, nothing missing, nothing broken, and happy Prosperity Day. Yeah. This is Wednesday, and Nina, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Wayne. How are you doing?
Well, you're looking good. And we were having a conversation before we actually went live. And for everyone else who may not know this, we did the second part of the program we did last Tuesday with Ryder Lee. It's over in his channel. I left the link below. And make sure to go and check that out. That was, gotta say, that was an interesting conversation, Nina. And I know you watched it because you and I were talking about it. And, the foundation and the pretense of the show was, are we alone in the universe? And I had this conversation with my wife over dinner last night. And as I was telling her, in the Bible doesn't teach that there is this universe with planets and galaxies. There's no mention of that. The only mention that we have is this thing called heaven in the firmament, that it is in a realm that's above this realm. I don't think that's outer space. But so, Nina, how do you see it? Do you see us as a species and a planet that we're isolated, that we're alone?
It's a very interesting question, because the more I've been studying lately and contemplating and meditating on that very question, it seems to be that we are kind of in a holographic kind of thing. And so space might not be exactly what we are being told that it is. And even if you go and look at the flat earth theory that most of us did a few years back.
Yeah, we all been down that road.
And, they have a valid kind of, hey, it's, and so the earth might be completely different than what we think it is. It might be completely different. And I do believe, though, that there's dimensions, so interdimensional beings. And that kind of goes with the whole matrix thing. There's layers. And I've always kind of known that, even as a child, that there's different like sections or layers, or like there's a veil between it that we can't see. We're occupying the same space, but yet we can't see each other. And so some of us, though, are kind of developed a bit of a sensitivity where I can feel them and stuff like that. But yeah, so there might be a whole lot more to this whole matrix thing and a holographic universe. It might just be a holographic image that we're actually looking at there. So I don't know, though, but it's very, very interesting question.
Well, sure. It is. And we know that there is something out there. I mean, we can see the actions of planets within our system. We've gotten it. But then again, it's how do we know that what our telescopes are really seeing is that nothing more than a holographic screen that has a 12D technology to it? I'm just saying out there because. Yeah. And as you said, maybe it's at that medieval drawing that shows the man lifting the firmament and seeing beyond, and holy crap, there's really
Right, that's
something
kinda
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Ruric.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, how are you doing, Ruric? Good to see you.
Good, good. I apologize. I totally slipped my mind. I was like, oh yeah, we are going live.
I should have texted you a little earlier. Yeah.
That's all right. We're just sitting here contemplating, the question, are we alone in the universe? Is Earth isolated? When you think about in the subject of demonology, you have angelology, but yet you have some of the most brilliant minds, Hawkins, Sagan, Freeman, all of them say that we're alone, that there's no evidence that shows that there's any life other than what we have here.
Well, I believe a lot of people are just really cerebral, and they think of, or they view things very matter of factly. And the thing about spiritual perception in general is like you have to have your mind and focus there to even start perceiving anything. So if your mind is where you focus, so, those that are really intellectual and don't think in those terms or have any disbelief on that, they're going to stay on that course.
Cool. I see JD's there. Hey, brother. Not sure if you can hear us, but welcome. So here's a question, because I had a number of people write me in this topic. It's interesting. Nina and I were talking prior to going live that there is this overall perception, and you can say it's with our species. Doesn't matter what culture you go to, what race or any place on the planet. Every culture has this thing, the balance, angels, demons, in myriad forms and different names. But the question that that I have seen is that so many people fear the subject. And I actually had someone write me and say, well, you need to be careful about this. And it's like Nina and I said, well, actually, you should have put that warning on angels, because those are some bad mofos. That's all I got to say. So I don't see, the fear has been ingrained to us as it's the lock. It's the lock that keeps us bound by an image. So here's a question. So are the fallen, the angels, the demons, however we want to call these beings, are they of earth? Are they earthbound? Do they come from a dimension that we would consider in our terminology as outer space? Another planet? Is there a planet where they come from? You see where I think some people want to know.
I see where you're coming from here. No, I don't think they're earthbound at all. I mean, I guess we have to kind of skew that perception just a little bit. Like, I mean, we have this physical plane that we all dwell in, and in this physical plane we have multiple different planets and life forms elsewhere, extraterrestrials, you name it. But then there are other layers or dimensions, as you'd call it, that overlap ours. And so that's where most beings reside, in this different dimension. Pretty
Hi,
much,
guys.
Okay, cool. Hey. A lot of the things that happen in that dimension make its way into the physical. So we talk about like just the way that we do things, that the like marriage and stuff like that, how that came about. It happened there first.
Yeah. And the whole ring thing, I mean, that is the Saturnalia influence. That's it, and it's a thing that we don't even think about, but it's a custom. Right. And because we do this in a most marriages are in a religious setting, maybe not as much today, but so there's this sacredness to it. So we put this thing on, never really grasping what exactly are we doing here.
Right.
Yeah. And if most people knew, you would go, holy crap, what am I doing? But anyway, I digress. So, hello, JD. Sarah, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank
Good.
you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Do y'all have some?
We
What's
had
that?
some Zoom issues, so sorry about that.
Hey, been there, done that. So on that question, how's y'all perspective on that? I mean, one question that was asked to me, then what is the attractiveness of these beings to us? I mean, if they're so intelligent and of a higher realm, why do they even bother with us?
I mean,
They want
well, to me, sorry,
No,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
I mean, to me, they certainly exist when we consider them. And so since we are here upon this earth, we have a consciousness that is able to connect to other conscious beings. When we are here living as a physical vessel and we consider them, we evoke them, we call them forth, we make offerings to them, then they are able to vicariously, in a way, exist and live with us, through us, with, like as a emanation of us in a sense. And that's why I feel that they have a vested interest in our evolution, because as far as like the way that my practice has evolved, as I work with them and I build them up in a sense through glorification, through offerings, through connecting with them on an intimate level, they are able to have more of a presence here, more of an experience here. They're not just their consciousness, but their overall energy, their beingness is able to then exist here in this plane of existence, in this dimension, through me, through my remembering who they are, through my energy and attention, and my intention in connecting with them. That does allow them to then exist and to experience. And so if that is the case, then of course, aren't they going to want to have a vested interest in my overall well-being? Because the better off I am, the better off I am as a bridge to bring them forth into this existence, into this reality, and be able to experience a lot of the amazing things that I'm able to experience here as a human.
I come from the Star Trek generation, Star Trek. And to me, it's like, is someone violating the prime directive here? I mean, if we bring them into this realm, is this really a contamination of us? And whether it's an angel, whatever you want to call these beings, it's interesting because if we're on the road of evolution, which I believe we are, I think there's plenty of evidence for that, then it really brings into that question, then is it that we're incapable of mastering our own destiny? Or is there been so much interference that what we finally have now is a division of two different objectives?
I feel like that at this point in our evolution that we are all some sort of hybrid entity that is highly intermingled with divinity, to a point that if you deny that in your life, you're going to have a very difficult existence. And that's what I was doing for so long. I was denying that part of me that is like it's so intermeshed with me that, like, if I were to deny it, wouldn't my existence here be miserable? And it was. And I think that, like, we are all part of something so much larger than we ever imagined, so much more than what the church would lead you to believe. Like, we are something greater, something more. And we always have been, but that's been like highly suppressed. And I think that it's like ready now to blossom and bloom and express itself and make itself known to the world. Like, this is the truth. This is what you are. Like, remember, child, remember. And like, that is what's happening. Not to everyone, but to many people. And I think that most of the hardship does come from denying these aspects of who you actually are. And I do feel that we all have like this huge chunk of divinity within us that maybe people in the past did have it, but I think it was lost and suppressed for so long that it was almost vanquished from within us or hidden from us entirely. And now we are beginning to wake up and realize like who we actually are, what we actually are, where we actually came from, that we are not just here by a weird circumstance, and we're not subject to mere circumstance, that we can be these powerful creators because we're not just these little clay beings. Like, we do have this huge amount of divine essence within us that it like can no longer be denied.
It's interesting you were talking, JD, is that you talked about suffering, we as a species, and about people who are suffering. And as I'm hearing that one of the benefits of engaging with these beings, they're obviously I see above us. My point is the dichotomy is that we have humanity basically worshiping one image, and with that worship comes a lot of suffering. I mean, there's disease, there's poverty, hunger, and yet, for the vast majority of people on this planet, this is what they do, and it's a suffering type system. Whereas we look at the demons, or some people, talk about their infernal beings. They're divine to me. I mean, they got more of an idea of divinity than I do. But here's the thing. Every person I have met on the path of my life that have been engaged in the relationship with these beings, their lives, there's this thing, it's not for the money. There is something more. And my point is, I found more happier people who have relationships with these forbidden ones than those who have the one called Jesus. I've never seen Gabriel come to my aid. Don't want him. That son of a bitch kills us. He's really good at it. And I can't find any demon or any master demon, archdemon, that has ever harmed a human. I can't find that. I can't find it written in any of the sacred books. So what I'm saying is that I think those who have and enter into the knowledge and let's just call it a relationship. I mean, in every relationship, there is a give and there's a take. What if the whole deception has been for our species is that these are the ones that can really aid in this life here? Do you see where I'm going?
Mm-hmm. That's what I have found to be true. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, for so long, I tried to do things the way that the mainstream world expected me and wanted me to do. And it just, it worked for me in ways, but I was very unfulfilled. I would say in like 90% of my life was unfulfilled. I had 10% fulfillment and thought that like I should be happy to have that, right? And it's
going to cost you 10% too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly. If you're doing it right, for sure. And yeah, at least 10%. At least, if not more. Yeah. So, I have found through like people need to remember, like they have to remember this, like that we have evidence that we have been here much, much longer than just, what the Bible teaches, which is what, 2,500 years or what, whatever it is. We've been here much longer than that. So what does that tell you? That there are entities, there are energies, there are consciousness that have been here way longer before that. We have been here way longer than before that. And that you are connected to your ancestry through your bloodline. Without a doubt, you are. You are a living representation of that bloodline that has never died. It has been here. It's been alive. It has had all the life experience throughout your entire lineage. And what were they doing? Were they reading the Bible? No, of course they were not reading the Bible. Like, people were reading the Bible the last 2,000 years or whatever it is. We go back 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 years, maybe a million years, right? And so what was here prior to that? A lot of things, a lot of these beings that have basically, they've been asleep in many ways for a long time just because they have been forgotten about. They have not been considered. They have not had offerings given to them. You know, it's just like a person. Like, if a person passes away in this life, and if you do not consider that person, if you do not create some sort of altar or shrine to
Memorial.
them, candles lit, a memorial, right? And honor their existence, honor their life, honor everything that they are, that they still are. It's not what they were, it's what they still are. And that's the thing that needs to happen with these entities. This is the thing that was happening with your ancestors for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, not just 2,000, tens of thousands of years. This goes back like as far as you can even imagine, like as countless as the stars in the sky, the years and the centuries and all of that goes back to working with not Yahweh, not this God. All of these spirits that we're talking about, they were here long before. They're still here, and they are wanting to help us to evolve. They're wanting us to help to correct what is happening here. And the only way to do that is to resurrect them, to revitalize them, to consider them, to think of them, to work with them, to give them worship, if you want to look at it that way. I happen to, and that's fine if you don't, but that's just the way that I approach it now, and that works much better for me. I'm worshiping myself, but I'm also worshiping them. I'm celebrating the fact that we are all here together once again, with the nature that's all around us, which is the emanation of their spirit, for one thing. Once you connect with these spirits, you connect to nature itself in a much more intimate way than you could have ever imagined. And it all begins to speak to you. It all begins to celebrate. Yes, we are doing it right once again. Like, I have been waiting for you, waiting for this moment, waiting for someone to realize the old ways of the ways that things were done before that had been long forgotten and suppressed and forbidden. That time is over now, and we can do these things again. We're not going to die for it, where we can actually realize who we are, who these spirits are, celebrate it all, and actually like move forward with some sense of certainty and not fear.
You were talking, and I had this vision of, it's like when you capture a wild animal and you have him in a cage, and if you keep him in that cage, you can take them out into the open and open that cage, and they're not going to walk out of the cage.
They think that's all there is.
Exactly. And I keep on getting this thing, the thing with offering and worship. Actually, if you look at civil and having good manners, if you go to someone's home, you typically bring a housewarming gift. Could be a bottle of wine. It could be whatever. And I do the same thing. I mean, I was 50 years in Christianity, and how I got to know Jesus and God was what I put in the offering plate. It's the truth. That gave me the ticket in there. Ruric, you I can see, or I sense that comment. And then Nina, you've been really quiet. So come on now. Just step right on up. And this is deep stuff. I'm liking it because I think that there is a certain benefit. I mean, if I want to come over Nina's house, then there's a reason for that, is that typically we want to exchange ideas, we enjoy the energy, the friendship, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same thing, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm just loving what I'm just here listening. It's great.
I mean, like, you know, like to give it some context, like whenever I would go to church before, whether it was Presbyterian church, whether it was Baptist or Southern Baptist church, whether it was Church of the Nazarene, whether it was the Catholic Church or the Mormon church, when I was going in there to commune with God, I was going in there like wanting to wear a hood over my head with my head down, going in there like, oh God, please, God, can we like talk about all the bullshit that I've done? And I hope that you're gonna like not like
You're going to
strike
do it
me
again.
down with your lightning and shit. And like, let me give you some money there, brother. And like, you know, hopefully that guy is not going to molest that little kid over there, but that has nothing to do with me. Like, please just help me. And like, I don't even want to look at your setup there. I'm just going to keep my head down and look at the floor. Like, that is not the way that I would approach or work with any of these spirits that we work with here. And that is never how you would ever need to feel. Like, if I was going to go sit down with one of my dear friends that has the power and capability to help me, I don't need to do it with a hood on my head and walk in there looking at the floor, feeling like a piece of crap, full of shame and guilt because of being a human being, right? Like, is that the way that we need to approach our spirituality and our life overall in general? Is that what we need to be doing?
It's just adds to the confusion, you know.
A lot of that. I mean, it's rich in that.
Yeah, I mean, this whole dogmatic religion, I mean, it's all man-made. It's all man-made. Even Jesus, you know, and Yahweh, I'm sure, really don't care about what it's morphed into. You know, especially Yahweh, he doesn't care. He has his own agenda, right? But see, anything to do with religions, whether it's Christianity or Islam or whatnot, it just adds more confusion, and it gets people distracted and away from the reality of what we need to be doing and looking for. Like this whole idea of, you know, paying money for this to wash away this concept of sin and everything else, and you know, this distorted idea of what the afterlife is and this judgment day and all this other stuff. It's complete bullcrap.
Well, it is. Can I just interject? Someone wrote me last week and was talking about, you know, the virtues of God and what have you. And I said, well, the problem is the Christianity is a pagan religion. But I said, the Christian God, if you're talking about this Old Testament God, is a proven liar. And they said, prove that to me. And I said, the 10 Commandments. It said, thou shalt not kill, but yet it kills.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt not covet, but yet it covets. It says that I'm a jealous and vengeful God.
Yeah.
So the 10 Commandments is an indictment that this being can't be trusted. So now we come out of this. I mean, we're here talking about in a very adult and civil manner about, all right, so the alternative. You know, I've said all along, I wish Lucifer existed. I believe that we've created it, but the Lucifer I know is not this enemy. It's a cat. I see it more feminine than I do masculine, and I see it much in the same light of Lilith. Someone said, how could you have you publicly have anything to do with Lilith? And I said, you don't know her.
Yeah.
You don't. Now, yeah, she can be an angry bitch. Got good reason to be. She's been screwed over more times than what humanity can ever imagine.
Yeah.
You know? But I said, she's never harmed me. That's the thing I keep saying. The only harm I've ever felt psychologically was from the Christianity, the indoctrination.
Yes.
That's just my stance on it. And I know what suffering is. So if you're telling me there's another potential race of beings that have experienced the same thing that I've experienced, I'll be more than happy to sit over there and smoke a joint with them and say, let's talk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my attitude.
Yeah,
You know?
me too.
I will
For
I
sure.
will say that Lucifer is a very real being, and it's not, none of these spirits are an amalgamation of our thought.
Thank you. That's
we
good.
haven't created
What's your view on that, Rick? Because I find I've seen it in my third eye. It's a beauty that I can't even, it's not light, but it is light beyond light.
Well, yeah, these spirits exist with or without our thought.
Right.
I mean, so
Good point.
I know we like to think about like, oh, what are they here for us, or like pretty much how do they serve us, or what benefit do they have to us, etc. And how much do they care about the world that we live in, or the race of humanity, or etc. I mean, we try to look at it in those terms, which I don't blame people and to do so, and we tend to do that with everything. It's just we have to realize where we stand in all of it. I mean, we are really just so minuscule in this grand cosmos. There are other places that exist in this physical dimension just like this one. So what makes us special? Honestly, not a whole lot. We are young souls. I mean, we can think of ourselves as gods, but we are not gods yet. We are gods in training. We are in a way, we are immortal. Our souls are immortal. That's why we've gone through life after life after life. The reason we're here is this is the sandbox. This is utter chaos. We're here to evolve and to grow, right? And how best can we do that? If we forego all past knowledge that we've accumulated thus far, we've come here with not a clue, and then we've come into this life blind and not knowing which direction's up. But in this path of seeking that, what is truth? This is how we evolve. And then once we make contact, it would behoove you to have a spiritual path and make relationships and build rapport with spirits, because in that you have the opportunity to grow even more and be able to transcend this cycle that we are in, And you were asked why entities might be involved or want to be involved in our evolution. If we're so small, etc., why? And that's because as we grow and evolve so today, everything doesn't remain in stasis. Everything evolves. That's just the way everything is. That's the nature of matter, right? And so as they invest in us, we are enriching the divine as well.
The thought just hit me. It's interesting. You see, I think these beings have an alternative for humanity. Where we're heading right now is down to the path of self-annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting in this day and age, there's this knowledge emerging of the potentiality that there can be yet maybe an alternative to where we're going. And that's the reason for, I think, the interest in demonology. I wish that there was a better word for that. I like the word divine ones, because that's what a daemon is a divine being. And it seems to me that I keep getting this sense that they want to express themselves, but they have been shut out by us.
Right.
So when people come together in their way, they always use a invocation. Well, I think we ought to do the same thing here. So which one of these beings or a group, I would like to welcome them in. I'd like to say thank you and say, hey, listen, there's understanding here and a thirst for knowledge and understanding. Come on in, let's talk. I mean, it's all telepathic to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree.
I mean, we can definitely do a ritual to
make them aware of our intentions and to promote them to participate in it more fully, without a doubt.
Well, I think it's disrespectful. I mean,
Yeah.
realms are realms. I understand it well. Paul indoctrinated that, I fully get the principalities, the powers, that dude was into knowledge that I'm still today convinced that I'm not so sure he wasn't a double agent.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. With him coming across the Liber Lilith, manuscripts and having access to all that understanding and knowledge, then I don't know how he really couldn't be, really.
I think he pissed that gal off or something anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
let's do this. I think that's just the thing to do. I mean, I don't have any fear. I don't have intrepidation. To me, I think it's just how I'd meet a friend, a stranger, it's like we may become best buds.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really like the appropriate way to build a relationship with them, and to have them to interject their essence, if you will, into your reality, which will certainly alter it. You will see actual changes in not only your reality, but in the reality around you that is affected, the other people that in your life and the rest of the world. Like, I know that we can make like radical changes that will not only affect the lives around me and in my household, in my local community, but like in the world by and large. And like, I've seen it happen. I have done it myself. And I really do feel that, like, in a weird way, that bringing the infernal empire here to this earth, in a way, like having it like overlap with our dimensional reality, in a sense, it's not going to bring forth a utopia, but it's going to bring forth a timeline that is poised for evolution and not poised for destruction. And I think there may be some people that may stay somewhat trapped in that lower dimensional reality, like 3 or 4D reality, as we shift into 5th and 6th and 7th dimensional consciousness, which would be more of like an evolutionary state and not a destructive state, which is what we're in now. We're kind of like in a destructive state. I think that there may be some people that will stay in that for a while, and maybe they will eventually step over into this new dimension. Like, I almost feel that like there's a lot of people, if you want to consider them enlightened, they may not be enlightened, but there are people from like Hollywood, there are people from like, they're famous people that we think are dead that have actually just kind of like stepped over into this other dimensional reality that we're creating, that through our technology, through our spirituality, through our connection with these spirits, I do believe that there is like another sense of physical reality of Earth that exists, that we can shift over into and exist in. And I think a lot of those people are there.
It's interesting as
If
you
that
were
makes
talking.
sense.
Oh, it does. You see, we hear in America, particularly each Sunday, you hear where the masses go, and you hear that it's the devil, it's Satan is the reason for all the woes of the world. And, there's this, this object that you're supposed to recognize. But the thing about it is that if that's the case, then what we have is a power system that already says that God's weak, because it's admitting that there is another force at work here. I'm not buying that. There's another force at work for it, but I think it's the same force that's accusing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So
everyone's got to have a scapegoat.
Exactly, and they're really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Nina, you haven't said a word. I got to get you in here, hon. I feel so bad of us, like,
I feel like I talk all the time, so I don't want to, I let other people talk as well. So, but yeah, no, a scapegoat. I mean, Azazel was literally a scapegoat in the Bible. They talk about that in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, other show that they were partying together. They were having sacrifices together and doing things together. They were friends, so he literally took one for the team, so that they could usher in this religion that they thought would help us in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and those are some of the beings that I think we should become much more versed with. I mean, we can say off the tongue, Gabriel, Michael, Raphael. I mean, these beings that are supposedly the good guys wearing the white hats, but I'm not convinced that. I don't think they have to wear a hat. In other words, it's F. Paul Wilson in one of his books talked about this other consciousness, and is it of such a level that it's not that it doesn't care, it's just there. There's no good, there's no evil. And it's us who have created this concept of good, bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all man-made. Yeah. Well, they want to suppress us, right? Keep us down, keep us, guilt and shame and fear and all that stuff. And, the other team, however, wants to lift us up. They want to teach us things so that we can learn and become adults.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
This is what I was hoping this series would do, is begin to establish a line of communication that where people have this subconscious fear, that we can really address this and say, well, just stop for a second and consider an alternative. Now, I don't know these beings on a personal level. So in my days when I worked with the Republican Party, we did a lot of the video of the presidential candidates. I had to go to protocol school, literally. And I was taught protocol. And I believe that there is a protocol with anyone of a higher office or a higher title. And it's a sign of respect. And you could actually use the word worship, but it's really just respect. Mm-hmm. So how do we get to know these beings? JD, you have a working relationship. So do you, Nina. Ruric, how does one begin to engage in reaching out? And Sarah, I want to hear from you too. I see you there, and I don't want to exclude you as well, because everyone has a say here.
Well, I guess when I first got here 3 years ago with JD, we called on Lucifer, and he showed me that he had always been there with me my entire life. I was a really scared child and I was alone a lot. And he showed me that if I would have just accepted him, he would have been there to comfort me. Like the entire time he was just waiting for me to accept him, basically. But other than that, I've never called on them. They just come to me. And so recently Lilith has come to me. Santa Morte came to me naturally. Who else? Oh, Asmodeus is a recent one that came to me. And then with him, I've been working with Azazel and Belial and
like, in order to do that, like if they're not just showing up into your life, like through physical manifestations, through images, messages, videos, songs, and I mean, just in all kinds of ways, they will interject themselves into your reality. But if it's something that you are seeking to connect with them on your own, then the best thing to do is to obtain their sigil or their symbol, whatever that, or an effigy of them.
Altar.
Like, make an altar at some point, but the first thing to do is to connect with that image and that symbol, just like we do with like McDonald's. We see that we know what that is.
Right,
we connect with that energy. You can do the same thing with the symbol of these entities by gazing at it and what's charging it or opening it, basically. There's a particular way that you can gaze at that sigil and have it to begin to flash and to stand up off of the paper, and
Part of it will disappear.
Yeah, it'll even disappear and like more.
Lucifer one we did.
By the way, folks, your dinner table is an altar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
People get all freaked out when you say, well, you know, you need to build an altar. Are you kidding me? We have at least every house has at least a half dozen altars.
Your television stand that holds your television to your black mirror is an altar as
Right,
well. You know, everything is like so
Everything's
ritualistic.
ritualistic, yeah.
Yeah, but like without a doubt. But like
Even
if
cooking is alchemy.
if you connect with that symbol, with that sigil, and if you just begin to keep that out, maybe place some candles and incense around it, but really just giving it your time and your attention, focusing on that sigil and gazing upon it, then you will begin to make a connection with that spirit that is connected to that symbol,
But
which
that
is the
I say you
essence
get
of
what
that.
you give.
Yeah, so the more time and attention, you know, where energy go, or where attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you place your attention upon that, then you're going to have some type of energetic connection or exchange. And then what typically will happen is you'll just be receiving these automatic downloads of like just what to do. Like then that you'll just be guided to light a few candles and some incense and maybe make an offering to that spirit of some tobacco or some libations of like wine or alcohol or food or something.
It's whatever you feel.
Yeah,
like
whatever you'll just know what to do
will.
naturally. And I think that is a part of the bloodline, the lineage to your ancestors. Like once you connect with these spirits, you'll just automatically be guided to know like what you need to do, because like it's in you, it's a part of you. Like your ancestors did. I mean, there's really no way that they had not run across these entities at some point in their lives. So that's a connection to you for sure.
As you were talking, so for me, I still speak in tongues, but when I was deeply into, and I come from the Pentecostal approach in Christianity. So when I would pray, it was the mental image that I was forming while speaking in tongues to this unseen energy, this unseen being. Now, when I left Christianity and revoked my contract with that particular God and that covenant, it never left. It's still with me, which tells me that it is, for me, and this is my personal belief, it is a means of which I can communicate to the spirit realm, and I can connect to any spirit, particularly if I have a name or a sigil. Even praying in tongues will allow a being of a higher intelligence. It doesn't need to speak English.
No, and then we were just talking about
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it comes through to people in all different languages, because it doesn't more telepathic than it is a language.
What you're doing is you're just interpreting the energy that's flowing through you.
Right.
So yeah, words are powerful, and there are many languages. There are many languages within the astral realm. And some you'll come to know if you stick on this path. And there are languages that we can't even speak if we tried, which, you know, sometimes it'll be kind of watered down and to, I guess, some kind of dialect that you can then speak in your rituals and stuff like that. And it's kind of like a download that you'll get, and you'll find yourself speaking that.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I can read Latin. I can even speak Latin. I've never been taught Latin.
Right.
You know, and again, I understand where my occult studies have led to me. As I look at these past cultures, the Greece culture, Roman, we can go back into Mesopotamia. Those cultures that embraced these beings were the enlightened culture. It's when the invading mind worm came in and then forbade it, we seen mankind spiritually digress.
Purposely.
Yeah.
I would say, just to back up just a little bit about, you know, coming into contact, I would say if you want to contact any of these beings, then you can just call on them. Using a sigil is a powerful way. Think of it like a phone number. But what I would recommend is start researching, start looking at different entities and spirits, and you'll find that there are some that just stick out to you. that just seem, for some reason, even if you can't put a finger on it, they just seem cooler above the rest. And what that is an indication of is either your resonance with them, the energetic resonance, or they're also calling out to you. You'll have certain entities that will come through to you because they feel they are best suited to help work with you. And as your perception opens to this spiritual realm and you make contact and start talking with these entities, you'll start to open up and really see what entities have really been around you, what beings that you're really called to work with, what pantheon, etc. And you'll find your way. We're blind right now. If you haven't talked to any entity or stumbled on any spiritual path of any sort, you're starting out blind, really. You're like, what do I do? Who do I work with? What do I, how do I go about that? And that's what I would recommend, is doing some research, looking through different entities and different pantheons and figure out what calls to you. But
I would love, can I just interject? I would welcome the idea of actually leading it in a group. I know what a group prayer can do.
Yeah.
One is set 1,000, two can set 10,000. This would be something to almost have that manual. All right, this is step one. Let's find whether it's Azazel, whoever it may be. Mm-hmm. And maybe we could have this kind of, right now there's, nearly 200 people plus watching. So that's a lot of energy. And I can't think of a better format to saying, welcome. We'd like to get to know you.
I would say Azazel is coming through for you a lot, Wayne, because
why is that?
Yeah, I know, because you've had a lot of interest in him. You just have, just naturally. Yeah. So you definitely have to connect with him for sure.
Well, if it comes by naturally, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, if you find yourself thinking about that entity a lot, or you hear that name a lot, you end up, it's just entered into your sphere of awareness. It's usually them calling out to you.
Yeah.
Or, far out. He digs music.
There's no accident that we're all coming together like this, because I work with the Azazel as well. And by the way, before I do any show, I always call upon them. My altar is going, it's fired up. They're here. So, no worries.
Right on. That's
yeah.
I love it, because that's the authenticness of it. And that's what I seek in this, My struggle, particularly at a 5 decades in a particular line of thought, was being able to connect. And unfortunately, the indoctrination is that, well, we're somehow fallen, we have sin, this separates us, and then we can't connect. That's nonsense. It's like, how dare you insult my species? I really just want to say, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah. It's purposely set to put a wedge between you, your own understanding, and the spirit realm. It's even a passage in the Bible, lean not on your own understanding. That's the biggest red flag I've ever seen.
That's what it says. Yeah. Be dependent on this other thought. Well, isn't that channeling? I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah,
because it seems like it is.
The whole Bible was channeled.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And maybe that this is my destiny. As I tell people, I had 50 years of initiation into the mystery schools. It was Christianity. And yet, in this whole path, this is where I always find myself, right back where I feel like I'm the advocate, and I'm nobody. I'm just I'm a hippie. I came into this realm with a song in my heart. I enjoy the cannabis, always have, and I'm a fucking smart guy.
This is awesome.
So, that's the kind of see, if I can find spirits like that, we're going to party. We're going to learn a lot.
Yeah. You'll find you'll find it's a very personal journey for everyone.
It is, yeah.
And different for everyone.
Some beings will really want to work with you more so than others. And usually, like I said before, the entities that really feel best suited to work with you will come forward, and you'll end up making their acquaintance. And usually they'll come forward and be like, okay, this is what we need to work on here. You lack self-discipline, or this or that. This is what I want to work with you with, or for,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
It's a very personal journey, but that is what, demons are teachers, absolute amazing teachers.
Yes.
And they all know your life. They know you better than you probably know yourself. And they know what holds you back, what your limitations are that you've placed upon yourself. And they know what's best for you to learn and grow as an individual.
See, I was taught that those are called familiar spirits.
You do have familiars for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah.
See, I like this. This is like putting on a pair of socks that feels really good, man. It's like, oh yeah. It's like,
Same way. Yeah. Mhm.
oh, folks, this is just, and everyone, thank you in the chat room. I mean, this is what it's about. It's not fear. We got to displace the fear. Listen, if these beings were really the monsters, the evil ones, then we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We are.
Right.
You understand where the fear comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only way I know how to deal with fear, as a child, when I was, the beatings, it's the psychological torment, is that someone's going to hit you and it's going to hurt. And, when you finally face that, you find out it doesn't hurt. Yeah, it may at the moment, but your mind becomes to come over that. And someone I'm talking to out there, you need to understand this is not evil. This is not sacrilegious. This is not Lucifer worshiping, although he can't see a problem with saying hello. But the point is, this is not what you have been taught.
Right.
No, it's conditioning.
It is conditioning.
Part of this path is peeling that back and reconditioning yourself.
Yeah. I was going to say too, for those who are watching, who think that just by watching this, they're going to invoke something scary or something bad's going to happen to you. That's not how it works. Okay. Like, matter of fact, if you're all scared and worried, they're not going to bother coming to you. Okay. That's a waste of their time. So don't be worried that, that you're bringing something upon yourself that you're not ready for, or that you don't want, because they don't have time for that. Okay. So I just want to say that.
I would like to take it a step further. I know some people do think that way and be like, oh man, I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it, it's gonna, they're gonna show up and wreak havoc and all that stuff. That's your own mind. Chances are, I wouldn't be surprised if you have beings already around you. It's
Bingo.
whether you just lack the perception to perceive it. Now, there is something to be said about you making that conscious decision to interact with them. Right. When I first came to this path, right, I'm not sure if I dabbled in that in the first live that we did, but I came to it all through this skewed perception of Christianity. Like, hey, I can sell my soul to the devil and I'm going to have a wonderful, materially rich life.
Illuminati.
Yeah, exactly. And then, when I made that conscious decision to contact them and call on them, my perception was opened up to the awareness of their presence, and they kind of laughed, and just like, yeah, no, that's not a thing. But we're glad that you finally acknowledge our presence.
Yeah.
And then through this path, I have come to realize how much they have been with me, even throughout my childhood and everything else. And a lot of people have these guides and guardians. I know we call this term guardian angel, but they're not always angels. You can have demons as guardians, and it's quite comical for me to see that even hardcore Christians have demons as their guardians. But what I'm saying is, like, they're waiting for you.
Say what?
They're waiting for you to have that conscious decision to be like, okay, I'm going to put all this crap aside, and I want to know the truth. I want to know what I really need to be working on and doing, and what's the reality of everything. When you make that conscious decision to reach out, then your world opens up and then you start to make sense of things, and your understanding becomes greater. There's another thing that Lucifuge had mentioned to me, that I think is wonderful to really ponder on from time to time. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, what makes you think that the thoughts and the equations that formulate in your mind aren't from spirit? We're always tapped in to some degree, whether we believe it or not. This muse that we channel, when we're writing fantasy books, or going about our day-to-day life. I mean, we are influenced all the time by spirit. Like I just talked about with hardcore Christians that may have demons as their guardians. They're still directing and influencing their life, so that the way they are coming across situations and circumstances, they're going to help mold their life for the better. That's their job. That is their role as a guardian. So yeah, you make that conscious decision to open up your awareness to them, then the real work can begin. Then the real evolution and development of your own personal soul can begin.
Whoa. Well, that's the worst for the price of admission right there. I mean, holy crap, man.
We can say all day, like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. Or like, if I think about it, they're going to come and everything. They're already there. They're already there. You just need to open up your awareness and make that conscious decision to work with them, should you choose. And this doesn't just apply to demons. It could be any spirit. In fact, I think, our understanding or lack thereof of the spirit realm is severely mistaken. Like even angels, like, not every angel has an allegiance to Jehovah. In fact, very few do. Raphael, for example, he's considered a divine healer, but people don't realize he's his own master. He actually used to be venerated as a war god. Not many people know that. It goes deep with them. There's a lot more to them.
I just sense in my spirit that there's a shout of going, well, we're making headway here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the small steps.
Absolutely.
And it's an honor to be amongst such intelligent divine beings. Speaking of the four of y'all, I'm just the guy out here. Amen. But
don't sell yourself.
No. You see, I had the experience with Lilith that happened back in 2016. It changed my life. And in the office, it's amazing because, as my wife will tell you, you walk in here and there's an energy. It's just a lot of spirits. They like music. Okay, panel. Next week for sure. Thank all of you. And let me just say to the what's that, hon?
I just said thank you.
Oh, well, it's the honor is mine. Folks, make sure you subscribe to these folks' channels and tune in, because JD, I know over in your channel you have, and Ruric is saying, is that, and Nina, I haven't seen too many of these. I guess I have to watch a little bit more, but you actually show how people can enter in the approaching of inviting these beings to you. And listen, if your life isn't where you want it, what does it hurt? Talking to the audience out there. I mean, come on, folks. This is, you're limiting yourself by your own perception. You've created your prison, but guess what? There's no front door. So, that's my 2 cents worth. That's my channel. All right, panel. Much love to you all. Next week, Much love, everybody. As the cowboys say, happy trails.